The mess in your room isn't just stuff. It is the physical ghost of every decision you've been too tired to make. Look around. That stack of mail on the counter, those are the responsibilities you're afraid to face. That chair buried under clothes, that's the version of you who gave up last night. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said the soul becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts. But in the 21st century, the soul is also dyed by the state of its surroundings. Your home is no longer just a shelter. It is a live broadcast of your internal chaos. When we claim we don't have time to clean, what we are really saying is that we aren't ready to look in the mirror. We aren't avoiding the broom. We are avoiding the person holding it. But what if I told you that duster in your hand is actually a key to a door you've kept locked for years? The Stoics taught us a fundamental truth, the dichotomy of control. You cannot control the economy, the weather, or how others perceive you, but you can control the space 3 feet around you. When the world feels like a storm, your room is the only laboratory where you can practice being a master of your own fate. Carl Jung took this further. He believed that we project our unconscious onto the world. If your mind is a tangled web of anxiety, your coffee table will inevitably reflect that tangle. We don't just live in houses. We live in our own psyches made of wood and drywall. Every object you own carries a psychic weight. That broken gadget you keep meaning to fix, it's a micro trauma, a constant, silent reminder of a promise you haven't kept to yourself. By leaving it there, you are practicing unintegrity. To change your life, you don't need a massive epiphany. You just need to start a conversation with the items that haunt you. In ancient cultures, cleaning was never a chore. It was a ritual of purification. In Jungian terms, this is active imagination. You aren't just moving a cup, you are moving a stagnant emotion. When you scrub a stain, you are symbolically washing away a moment of regret. This is where the alchemy happens. The alchemists didn't just want to turn lead into gold. They wanted to turn the lead of the heavy, depressed soul into the gold of an enlightened spirit. Think about the last time you did a deep clean. Remember that sudden, inexplicable surge of energy? That wasn't just physical exercise. That was your unconscious signaling that it finally feels safe to breathe. You didn't just fix a room. You integrated a part of your shadow, the part of you that felt unworthy of beauty and order. Stoicism asks us to live in accordance with nature, and nature hates a vacuum. If you don't fill your space with intention, the shadow will fill it with clutter. This is the moment where the mundane becomes the miraculous, where a simple sweep of the floor becomes an act of self-love. Let's be real. The hardest part isn't the cleaning. It's the confrontation. You pick up an old photograph or a gift from an ex, and suddenly you're drowning in a memory. A Stoic would tell you, it is not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. That clutter is actually a graveyard of past selves. To throw something away isn't a loss. It's an invitation for the future you to finally move in. Ask yourself this: is this object a bridge to where I am going or an anchor to where I have been? If it doesn't serve the person you are becoming, it is a thief of your current peace. When you clear a shelf, you aren't creating emptiness. You are creating possibility. You are telling the universe and your own nervous system that you are ready for something new to arrive. Because at the end of the day, your home isn't just a place where you sleep. It's the womb of your next transformation. If you feel overwhelmed today, don't try to fix your whole life. Just fix one corner. Pick up one thing. As the Stoics believed, excellence is not an act, but a habit. And as Jung proved, the soul loves a clean temple. You aren't doing the dishes. You are clearing the path for your next great idea. You aren't taking out the trash. You are removing the barriers between you and your true self. Transformation doesn't require a miracle. It requires a trash bag and the courage to stop running. Take a breath. Feel the lightness in the air. You've done more than tidy up. You've reclaimed your sovereignty. If this resonated with your soul today, I want you to make a pact with yourself. Leave a comment below with 3 simple words. I choose clarity. Let it be your internal anchor. Subscribe if you're ready to stop living in the shadow and start living in the light. The world begins at your doorstep, but your life begins at the center of your room. Go there. Be present. And finally, come home to yourself. The mess in your room isn't just stuff, it is the physical ghost of every decision you were too exhausted to make. Look around. We often tell ourselves we're just busy or tired, but in the quiet of your home, your soul is trying to tell you a different story. Carl Jung once suggested that we don't just live in houses, we live in our own psyches, made of wood and drywall. Every object you own carries a psychic charge, a silent vibration that either grounds you or drains you. If your environment feels heavy, it's because it's no longer a shelter, it has become a mirror. A mirror of the things you've tried to bury, now rising to the surface through the very objects you touch every day. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught us that while we cannot control the world, we have absolute sovereignty over our immediate environment. But when we lose control of our space, we lose our internal peace. Your unconscious doesn't use words, it uses symbols. That pile of clothes on the chair, it isn't just laundry. In the language of the mind, it is postponed identity. It represents the person you were yesterday who was too burnt out to care, and the person you are today who feels too overwhelmed to start. You are literally stuck between a past you haven't put away and a future you aren't ready to claim. Imagine your home as a laboratory of the soul. When you leave a task unfinished, you create a leak in your Stoic fortress. You aren't just looking at a mess, you are looking at a series of unkept promises to yourself. Each misplaced item is a silent messenger from the depths, whispering that somewhere, in some part of your life, you have stopped being the master of your own fate. Let's go deeper into the kitchen. The sink full of dirty dishes isn't about laziness. Often, it represents the emotional residue of conversations you never finished processing. Just as food nourishes the body, experiences nourish the mind. But if you don't wash the plate after the meal, the residue begins to rot. Are you holding on to a grudge? An unspoken word? The psyche sees the sink and recognizes the stagnation of your heart. And then there is the dust. It gathers in the corners we refuse to look at, much like the reality of time and aging. To avoid the dust is to avoid the realization that life is fleeting, what the Stoics called memento mori. We ignore the dust because it reminds us that everything eventually fades, including our own youth. By refusing to clean those silent corners, we are trying to pause time, clinging to a version of ourselves that no longer exists. Your clutter is a map of emotions you never finished feeling and thoughts you tried to outrun. But here is the breakthrough. Your mess is not your enemy. It is a communication. Jung believed that the psyche has an incredible urge to heal itself. And sometimes it creates chaos on the outside so that you are finally forced to look inside. When you feel that tightness in your chest as you walk into a cluttered room, that is your intuition asking for air. It is a signal that your inner world has become too heavy to carry, and it has spilled outward across your shelves and floors. Ask yourself, if this room was a dream I was having tonight, what would it be trying to tell me? This shift in perspective changes everything. You move from being a victim of your clutter to being an interpreter of your own life. You realize that the heaviness wasn't the objects themselves, but the unresolved energy you tied to them. Stoicism isn't about having a perfect room. It's about having a clear mind. And sometimes the only way to reach that clarity is to handle the physical symbols of your confusion one by one. Transformation doesn't require a miracle. It requires a single conscious gesture. When you clean, you are performing a sacred realignment. You are telling your unconscious, I see you. I am ready to process the past. I am ready to reclaim my space. This is where the visible meets the invisible. As the dust is lifted, so is the fog in your mind. As the dishes are cleared, your emotional capacity expands. As you stand in your space today, don't look for what's wrong. Look for what's waiting to be integrated. You deserve a home that breathes with you, not a tomb that holds you back. Before you leave this video, take a moment of stoic reflection. Look at one object that has been weighing you down and ask, does this anchor me to my shadow or bridge me to my light? I want you to declare your intention right now. Type in the comments, I choose clarity. Let that be the moment the energy in your room and your life begins to shift. Because when you finally learn to read the language of your home, you don't just find a cleaner room, you find yourself. Your mess isn't a failure of discipline. It's a sanctuary for the parts of yourself you're too afraid to meet. Have you ever noticed there's one specific drawer, one corner of the garage, or one closet that makes your chest tighten just by looking at it? You tell yourself you'll get to it someday, but that someday never comes. In psychology, Carl Jung called this the shadow. The shadow isn't evil. It is simply the collection of everything you've rejected, your grief, your unfulfilled dreams, and your hidden shames. When you refuse to clean a space, you aren't just avoiding dust. You are guarding a tomb. You've turned that cluttered corner into a physical border between who you pretend to be and who you actually are. We often use disorder as a psychological shield. Think about it. As long as your environment is chaotic, you have a perfect excuse for why you aren't thriving. I can't start that business yet. My desk is a mess. I can't find peace. My house is a disaster. This is what the Stoics would call a false impression. We create a fog of clutter to protect ourselves from the stinging clarity of our own lives. Because clarity is dangerous. Clarity reveals the loneliness you've been masking with retail therapy. It reveals the disappointment of a career that doesn't fit. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." By leaving the mess untouched, your imagination turns it into a monster. You stay in the fog because, although it's heavy, it's familiar. But the Stoic path demands that we tear down the veil. Every day you leave that shadow corner untouched, you are choosing a comfortable lie over a difficult truth. You are letting your environment dictate your internal state, instead of using your reason to command your surroundings. So, how do we break the spell? It starts with a radical shift in perspective. Move from judgment to curiosity. When you finally open that scary closet, don't look at it as a list of chores. Look at it as an archaeological dig of your own soul. That box of old hobby supplies you haven't touched in 5 years, that's not just clutter, that is a forgotten self asking for acknowledgement. Jung believed that when we bring the shadow into the light, it stops being a threat and becomes a source of energy. This is integration. As you sort through the mess, ask yourself, why did I hide this? What was I feeling when I put this here? When you clean with this kind of presence, you aren't fixing a room, you are negotiating a peace treaty with your unconscious. You'll find that the monster in the closet was actually just a part of you that was lonely, waiting for you to come home and say, "I see you, and it's okay to let go now." Imagine the moment the last bag is filled and the floor is finally visible. There is a specific kind of silence that follows a silence that doesn't judge, but breathes. This is the Stoic equanimity. You have reclaimed your territory from the shadow. You realize that the things you feared facing the old letters, the broken dreams, the piles of paper, had no power over you once you looked them in the eye. This is the alchemy of the ordinary. Your hands are dirty, but your spirit is light. By removing the physical weight, you have thinned the walls between your conscious mind and your true potential. You aren't just living in a cleaner house. You are living in a more honest version of reality. You've moved from the unintegrated shadow to a state of wholeness. The air in the room feels different because you are vibrating at a different frequency. You have proven to yourself that you are strong enough to face the darkness, and in doing so, you have found the light. As you stand in your space today, remember, the shadow never fully disappears, but it no longer has to hide. It can live in the light of your awareness. Cleaning is a lifelong practice of memento vivere, remembering to live. Don't wait for a burst of motivation. Motivation is a fair weather friend. Use Stoic discipline to step into one small dark corner today. You deserve to live in a space that supports your becoming, not one that echoes your hiding. If this journey into the shadow helped you see your home differently, let's hold each other accountable. I want you to go to that one area you've been avoiding, spend just 10 minutes there, and then come back here and comment, "I am no longer hiding." Let that be your declaration of independence. Subscribe to continue this walk through the psyche, because we are just getting started. You were never afraid of the mess. You were just afraid of how much power you actually have to change it. Go claim that power. You aren't just folding a shirt, you are rearranging the architecture of your soul. Pause for a moment. Look at your hands. We've been taught that cleaning is a chore, a boring tax we pay for existing. But what if that's the greatest lie we've ever believed? In the ancient world, from the Stoas of Rome to the temples of the East, the act of clearing space was never about the dirt. It was a sacred realignment. When your environment is stagnant, your evolution is stagnant. You feel stuck because you are physically surrounded by dead energy. But the moment you move one object with intention, you aren't just tidying a room. You are signaling to the universe that you are finally ready to occupy your own life. The Stoics, like Epictetus, were obsessed with logos, the divine order of things. They believed that a chaotic mind cannot exist in a vacuum. It will always bleed into its surroundings. This is why cleaning is your most accessible form of power. You cannot control the global economy or the noise of the city, but you can command the 3 square feet in front of you. This is micro-sovereignty. When you sweep a floor or wipe a window, you are practicing an ancient ritual of purification. In the Stoic tradition, this is the clearing of the lens. If the lens of your home is covered in the grime of neglect, how can you expect to see your path clearly? You aren't fixing a room. You are removing the obstacles between your reason and your reality. Every rhythmic stroke of a brush is a mantra of discipline, telling the chaos, you do not rule me, I rule this space. Carl Jung spent years studying alchemy, not as a way to make gold, but as a metaphor for individuation, the process of becoming whole. In the alchemical furnace of your home, your objects are the base metals. That old box of mementos from a failed relationship, that's lead. It's heavy, dark, and it's pulling your psyche into the basement of the past. To declutter is to perform modern alchemy. When you consciously choose to let go of an object that no longer serves your growth, you are performing a psychic surgery. You are untying the knots of an old version of yourself. As that object leaves your house, the past you loses its grip on your present you. This creates a sacred void. Most people fear emptiness, but in the void is where the spirit breathes. You aren't losing stuff. You are gaining breath. You are transmuting the weight of what was into the light of what is becoming. Notice the atmosphere after a deep clean. It isn't just cleaner. The air literally feels different. The silence has changed. Before, the silence in your messy room was an accusatory silence. It was filled with the voices of everything you hadn't done. It was the silence of avoidance. But now, as the surface is clear, the silence becomes generative. This is the silence of the blank canvas. In this space, inspiration doesn't have to fight through the noise to reach you. You've created a temple for your future self to inhabit. As a Stoic would say, you have aligned your external world with your internal virtue. You've moved from the stagnation of the shadow into the flow of the self. You'll find that ideas come easier, sleep is deeper, and your breath reaches all the way to your belly. The room hasn't just been transformed. It has been sanctified by your own effort. You are not the person who started this video. That person was standing in a tomb. You are now standing at the threshold of a temple. Remember, the dust will return. That is the nature of the universe. But now, you know the secret. When the mess gathers, it's not a failure. It's a signal. It's your soul asking for a new dialogue. Cleaning is the bridge between who you have been and who you are destined to be. Don't just watch this and act it. Pick one corner, one drawer, one surface. Perform your alchemy. And when you feel that shift in your chest, that sudden lightness of being, come back here and share your victory. Tell us, I have returned to myself. Subscribe to keep this fire of clarity burning. Your home is the dream you walk inside while awake. Make it a dream worth living. Go now and clear the path. You didn't just clean a room today. You gave your soul permission to stop hiding and finally take up space. Take a deep breath, the kind that reaches all the way to your stomach. Do you feel that? The air in this room no longer feels like it's holding its breath. For weeks, months, maybe years, you've lived in a state of psychic suffocation, surrounded by the ghosts of tasks left undone. But look around now. The stillness is no longer a threat, it's a welcome. You have crossed the threshold from a person who is managed by their environment to a person who masters it. This is the Stoic peace, the tranquility that comes when your external world finally aligns with your internal truth. Jung once said that privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That process begins with clarity. When the surfaces of your home are clear, the surfaces of your mind follow suit. Notice how your thoughts aren't racing as much. Notice how the decisions that felt impossible yesterday, what to eat, how to work, who to be suddenly feel manageable. This isn't magic, it's the result of removing the noise. By organizing your space, you've reduced the cognitive load on your brain. Every object in its place is one less unresolved file open in your subconscious. You are experiencing equanimity, the Stoic ideal of a mind that remains calm regardless of the chaos outside. Your home has transformed from a warehouse of regrets into a sanctuary of growth. It is no longer a place where you hide from the world, but the fortress from which you go out to conquer it. You breathe deeper because you've stopped living in a graveyard of your past selves and started living in the home of your current self. We often wait for a big moment to change our lives, a new year, a new job, a massive revelation. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that rebirth happens in the small, boring moments. It happens in the choice to wash one plate, to fold one towel, to clear one shelf. This is the logos, the underlying logic of the universe that thrives on order and intentionality. True transformation doesn't arrive with a fanfare of trumpets. It arrives in a single, quiet breath. It's the moment you stop saying, "I'll do it later," and start saying, "I am doing it now." By choosing order, you are practicing the ultimate Stoic virtue, self-discipline. You've realized that you don't need to change the whole world to feel new. You only need to change your relationship with the space you inhabit. You have been reborn not through fire, but through the simple, persistent act of caring for your own life. Here's the most important truth I can leave you with. The dust will return. Chaos is a law of nature, and your home will get messy again. But here is the difference. Next time, the mess won't be a source of shame. It will be an invitation. Every time the clutter starts to creep back in, it's just your soul tapping you on the shoulder, asking for another conversation. Don't look at future cleaning as a chore. Look at it as a check-in with your unconscious. When you see a pile gathering, ask yourself, what am I avoiding? Where has my mind become scattered? Your home is a living, breathing diary. By maintaining it, you are maintaining the health of your psyche. You are no longer a victim of entropy. You are a gardener of your own soul. You've learned the language of symbols, and once you can read that language, you are never truly lost again. As you finish this video and step back into your day, I want you to carry this new sovereignty with you. You are the architect of your peace. You are the guardian of your temple. Before you go, I want to invite you to make a formal declaration to your unconscious. Leave a comment below with these 3 words. I choose clarity. Saying it is one thing, but writing it down, making it visible, is the first step toward making it permanent. Subscribe to join this community of modern Stoics and Jungian seekers. We are all walking each other home, one room at a time. Share this with someone who is currently drowning in their own disorder. Give them the gift of knowing they aren't lazy, they're just waiting for their own awakening. The world is loud, but your home can be quiet. The world is chaotic, but your space can be intentional. You have found the key. Now, keep the door open. Thank you for choosing yourself today.